Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grove, and welcome once again to another episode of the Rip Roaring Reds. You're joining us. It's 2025, so welcome back to the channel if it's your first time joining us. Please do give this video a like. Please do give the channel a subscribe, and please do leave a comment down below what you thought of Arsenal's performance. 3-1 away at Brentford, taking us to second in the league, 6 points behind league leaders Liverpool. Before we get into everything, how are you doing, Jace?
Hello, happy new year to everyone listening and to you, Griff. Doing okay. I've got to go back to work tomorrow, so kind of officially holidays over. But happy with the performance we saw this evening, and in good spirits.
You almost had a dagger through my heart then, thinking if I was going to go back to work tomorrow. I'm not back to work till Monday. So I'm happier maybe than you. A little bit of pre-work depression, but hopefully that performance maybe chirped you up a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty
good. Yeah, it's nice.
Better than I expected.
Yeah, it wasn't the last game was called Boring Arsenal, and I think this game wasn't quite that. Although towards the end it might have got a little bit. I think that was more controlling the game more than anything else. Maybe actually that might be something you talked about before. We're going to go into the Rip Run review, which is our moment in Arsenal. What we're talking about this week. Jay's going to hand the baton straight over to you for your Rip Run review. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I think you quite rightly called that out there. I had one tagline: total control and possession. I feel we showed that against Ipswich, even though it was boring. And even we went away to Brentford. We had a well-needed performance. Brentford's home record is incredibly strong. I know that maybe the position in the table doesn't justify it completely for them, but they are very, very hard to beat at home. And we went there with no Saka, with an unwell Havertz, so he didn't play. Rice on the bench, so you could say that is not quite the spine of the team, but it's arguably your three, maybe with the exception of Odegaard, like going forward, your best players. And we put in a very, very good performance. There's definitely areas for improvement, and we'll go on to discuss those. But I'm in, there's no pessimistic. Pessimistic, is that the right word?
Pessimistic.
That one. That I'm in good spirits. I'm not in a space here where I'm worried with what I saw. I think that actually something clicked today. It almost like we kind of turned a page. That's what it felt like. There's definitely areas to improve, but I feel the energy that was put into that performance, some of the tactical decisions that were made worked. And I guess going into the game, we didn't know if they were going to. And to score 3 goals away at Brentford and come away with a 3-1 win is great. I mean, obviously, we would love the clean sheet. We'll discuss that. But I'm just very happy. I'm very, very good start to the new year. And I'm energized by what I've seen. I think we can only go forwards. Touch wood.
Yeah, we are the only team with a 100% record in 2025, Jace. So everything's looking rosy.
Did you know that Man United haven't lost yet in 2025?
That is unbelievable. Is that true?
It is true.
I don't want to hear. Look, I reckon you've been reading my notes, Jace, because I had almost a spit for my Rip Run review. Like you, I think this is a huge win in reflection, because away from home they've lost 1 game this year at home. Their away record is pretty trash, and that's why their league position isn't as good as maybe you would think it is. But they're a hard team to beat. They're well drilled, they're well organized. Thomas Frank has got a really good team, some really good players, and you could already tell that as soon as that goal went in. We're going to talk about it, I'm sure. I was wondering where this could go, because we've been in moments where, and it always seems, and maybe I'm just thinking about this too deeply, when we get these games in the wet, cold, January, December kind of times and nights, that we sometimes just get caught out against teams that shouldn't really be beating us. And I kind of had this ill feeling in my stomach that might be coming, but it didn't. We like you said, we were without our 2 best goal scorers in Bukayo Saka and Kai Havertz. We were without arguably the best number 6 in the league in Declan Rice, who was on the bench. And we weathered the storm and we came through. And it's a big, big win, and it puts us not in touching distance by any means. Liverpool still have that game in hand, of course, but it keeps that pressure on. After a few of the other results have kind of gone ish our way, a tiny bit, Chelsea losing again was a good one. It means that it's tight, although Nottingham Forest obviously keep putting that pressure on. They're right up and amongst it as well. So my written review is a needed win. We got the win. It was a big win. Onwards and upwards to Brighton this coming weekend.
But I just one thing on that Forest thing before we go into the game. The more I think about it, I don't know. I mean, you want to think that this Forest performance this season is a bit of a Leicester style kind of fluke. Is that what you think it is?
Kind of, because you look when they went up last season, I think it was, and they literally signed everyone. They spent like an incredible amount of money on and it seemed like random players. And it's kind of what Chelsea kind of did, where you just like they were swallowing up players left, right, and centre, and it didn't really seem very organised, very structured. But I would say that Nuno, as a manager, he is a good manager. He's a good coach. He might have lost the Wolves kind of either dressing room or the fans or everything and above, but he is doing a good job. I think their performances are better than Leicester seem to scrape through. I think a lot of the time when they won the league, and a lot of other teams weren't performing. Forest, where they are now, you look at the performances that Liverpool are putting together, that we're putting together, that Chelsea are putting together. They are good and deserve to be up there. But when they came to the Emirates, because we were at that game, they weren't good, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, I remember that they mentioned, obviously, the keeper of Forest has got the most clean sheets, just one in front of David Raya. So they're obviously doing something. The reason I brought it up and to get your perspective on it was because we just let our director of football go there. Right? Edu's now at Forest. I mean, obviously he's at the Forest group because it's the Olympiacos. But if he's doing the same job, if there's money there, we just suddenly have another competitor in the mix. And I just wonder if there's a chance they stay where they stay. Would they make investments in January that allow them to stay there competing? Do they have the caliber of team to keep there competing?
The thing is, I would say, like when they go into, if they do stay where they are, or they get Europa League or Champions League, that's when you do start to see some of these other clubs start to somewhat fall apart, like Newcastle.
Yeah,
where they just can't have the squad and the players to keep up those fronts on 4 particular fronts.
Ironically, Newcastle are now very good now. They're not in the Champions League. So.
Well, there you go. It's like I'm full of truths. But yeah, it's a good point. I'd like, it's like a bit of a fairy tale, and I do like, I don't mind Forest. I like Forest. Got nothing against them. I do think they're obviously quite an old school, but Barclays like Premier League team as well. You know what I mean? And that's quite nice to see them up where they are.
Yeah. Oh, they were before Barclays days. I think they got relegated before Barclays came along.
They're old school, 80s, 90s.
Yeah, indeed. Right, onto the game, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a bit of the first half musings, because like I preluded a second ago, when that first goal went in from Mbeumo, my heart was a little bit in my mouth, a bit sick in my stomach. I was thinking the worst was yet to come, I suppose. And obviously, as the game went on, it obviously changed. I just wondered, what did you think generally about the first half? What did you think about Mbeumo's goal, first and foremost? Because I think the first thing he did was text me, sign him, which I think is what you sent me.
Well, at that point, I actually texted you one thing before that, which we'll talk about, which was Nwaneri, like it. And I think literally as I messaged you that, then Mbeumo put it in the back of the net. Look, we were caught in transition. I think you said that to me on the message you sent me earlier. Merino at fault? ? Would have that transition happened if Rice had been playing or fully fit? Again. I think we have a lot of trust in Rice in those to cut out some of those transitions on that side of the pitch. The thing for me that stood out, and I don't know if I'm being too cruel on Calafiori here, but I messaged you going, that wouldn't have happened with MLS. And now I probably might have some very biased glazed or red tinted glasses, rose tinted glasses, whatever they're called, for MLS at the moment, because I think he is incredibly good footballer, and I think he is our future long-term left back as he grows. But I just felt the ability that Mbeumo showed, that bit of pace and that ability to cut inside, one that Calafiori just couldn't get close enough to him, and showed some elements of Ross. But the thing that's most disappointing is, we are not unfamiliar to the position Mbeumo was in. Because if you put Bukayo Saka in that position, you know exactly what he's doing there, right? He's shooting with his left foot and he's whipping it to the far corner. But the goal went in the opposite corner. He kind of cut it back across Calafiori. That was the bit for me where I feel I need to be a little bit critical. I think Mbeumo should be getting the shot away potentially, like Saka does, and because whipping for the far corner, because we know that's what Saka would do. But the fact that he wasn't able to get any block on the cut back to the other post, I think that was poor. I don't think that was good enough, and I think that just shows a bit of rust. Maybe. I mean, he's not played much. He's not had hardly any minutes. So try not to be too critical because we won the game. But I was disappointed in that, and I think I messaged you saying that wouldn't have happened with MLS. Hey, what do I know? Just a fan. But
no, I'm kind of with you to a point. Like I'd put in my notes kind of Calafiori over MLS question mark was an interesting take, considering obviously he's coming back from injury. I suspect he'd probably get like half an hour. He ended up getting about 60-70 minutes. I agree with everything you said. The transition was the thing that most worried me, and it just, Brentford are a very good transitional side. They're very good on the counter. They're very good on the break. They have players to hurt you. They have players with pace. And that's why I kind of looked at that lineup and went, Merino, Partey, like that felt risky. And as soon as that goal went in, I was infuriated because it felt like I was vindicated by my thoughts and feelings inside. I was kind of like, I knew it was going to happen. And lo and behold, literally our possession, I think in the first 10 minutes was like 85%. They flashed up on the screen for a second. We were literally rinsing them. It was the first time they got the bloody ball. Yeah. And it was their first attack. And they transitioned on us. And we just, it's weird. It's like when we're countered on, we just look all at sea. We look lost. We don't know what to do. It's because we're so ambitious in the control of our game, as you mentioned in your written review, that as soon as we're not, the panic stations. And like, I agree with you. I don't want to be, because I think Calafiori is the starting left back. I think that much is clear considering he started this game, because otherwise he would have started MLS. But would I have thought? It's a cracking finish. The XG for that goal was like 0.04. Like, he shouldn't be scoring it really, and he just caught everyone. I don't think Raya could do very much about it because he'd already kind of positioned himself to do one, like you said, the Saka like goal. He was already ready to vault himself to the top right corner, and he had to reset his feet a little bit and get to that bottom left, and he just couldn't do it quick enough. But maybe that's the point I want to get onto, and I'm wondering where your head's at. Because alongside that 0.04 XG stat, I saw the last 4 goals that have gone in against us. Sarr was 0.04 XG, Jimenez was 0.06 XG, Emerson's was 0.09 XG, all below 10% basically chance of scoring. Should and can Raya be doing better, do you think? We've talked a lot here about how much of a shot stopper he is and can be, and also how much we just mentioned this in the green room a little bit before, and how much of a clutch shot stopper he is. But is there something there that we're not looking at that we should be worried about?
I think there is. I almost didn't have an answer for you then, but I thought about it as you were saying. I thought about all of the examples you gave, and the thing that stands out to me, or the pattern which I identify in some of those, is when an opposition player takes the shot early, they tend to score. But when the shot is, say, with inside the box, and Raya is kind of in the zone more because he can feel the threat more, he's tending to pull off some superb saves, double saves at times, right? How many double saves we've seen this season? Mm-hmm. And so that tells me that, the kind of more, because I think the Jimenez shot, that was, I don't know if that was just inside the box or just outside, but he took it early, right? And it's almost like if they take it early, they catch the keeper by surprise, we are being caught out. And I think the Mbeumo one was the same. Like, they caught us out because, I don't know how much sight of that Raya had, because in theory, Calafiori probably was blocking. I haven't really watched the goal, So I might.
Yeah, I think he was in between the goalkeeper. And I think that
Yeah. So how much of it did he
height
see,
has.
basically? Yeah. And so yeah. I think Raya wasn't. We know Raya's an upgrade, and we know he's a very good keeper. Golden Glove last year, second to Golden Glove this year. If you got to see Forest drop off, he'll be taking the Golden Glove this year as well. So he's not a bad keeper, but you know, if you're asking me, can he improve? Yeah, of course he can.
Yeah, I think the question I'm trying to ask, I suppose, is that as keepers go, and as our defense continually keeps being lauded as one of the best defenses in the league, it's quite often that he seems to be caught with opportunities that I don't think we should be conceding in terms of opportunities. And second of all, like you say, maybe he only needs to really be called into action a couple of times in every game that we play. In reality, because our defense is so good, and yet they're always scoring. You've said this in a lot of your predictions when we talk about the games. You're like 3-1, 2-1 because you think we're going to concede, and it's just weird that considering how many shots we actually take against us, it's very, very low. We actually are conceding quite often.
I didn't go 3-1 today. Fuck's
sake. There you go. It's too late. What was it? 2-1? Did you go 2-1?
No,
you went 2-2 didn't you? Yeah. I was I only predicted the win, so you know I'm theming our league as it goes. Okay, let's move on then, because obviously I want to talk about, we did come back into this game before the end of the first half with Jesus scoring the equaliser. Anything you want to read into that goal? Anything you want to read into our ability to come back into this game? Because like I said, my heart was in my mouth a little bit. I thought the worst, and we did manage to claw our way back into this game in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, was I worried? I think I was more worried at the lineup, which we probably need to talk about, because of the players we had out, and you know, is the attack going to be the kind of attack that we know versus what we actually expect and we saw against Ipswich? That was the question marks in my head. That was what kind of cemented an element of worry in my mind. We did have, I felt Nwaneri before the goal went in, it showed a few elements of promise that kind of cemented very securely in my mind, like he's much better on the right than putting Martinelli on the right. And so I started to feel reassured. When we let the goal in, yes, I had a little, for a moment, I had a little bit of that kind of sinking gut feeling like you described. However, when you look at the Arsenal of the last 2 years, I feel we've got over that. You know, I feel the many occasions where we've gone behind and we've come back and won. Like, it's not the Arsenal of 6 years ago. It's the Arsenal of the last 2-3 years. And that has been a team that can recover from going a goal behind. It's not, I mean, it's a team that you expect to have clean sheets, but if we go a goal behind, we can recover it. And so I wasn't that worried. Once I started to see how we were playing as a unit in the front two lines, we were, and we'll come on to talk about some of the standout players there. But I think, you know, we had control and possession, so they were going to get few and far chances. Again, we've already discussed, I think, the Mbeumo one. I mean, that's the only thing you got to look at. Raya, could he be more alert? Could Calafiori done a bit better? But
yeah, I was going to say, like, for me as well, coming back into that game, very resilient, like you say, and confidence is a hell of a drug for Jesus, because he's obviously scored goals, come back into it, and managed to be able to score again here. And it's not named Crystal Palace, so I don't know if he's added another setting on his back for you, Jace.
We're talking like kind of like East London. No, sorry, West London. West and South London. If you're in there, so Fulham, Chelsea, watch out, because
we're gonna need a North London soon enough.
Yeah, London. We'll just say London.
We need London.
London.
Right. I'll tell you what. I want to, because we've mentioned this player a couple of times. I want to talk about. So second half really changed, and the commentators made a big deal about this. We came out the gates massively, flying in the second half. Those goals came within 3 minutes of each other. There's one player that popped up for the second goal He popped up in the box, another set piece again, ole. And it came across, I think it was Jesus that took the shot, really good shot, blocked, and then Merino pops up in the box, makes it 2-1. Now, let's talk about Merino, because he did score a goal and he came up in a relatively clutch moment when we needed it. Does that change any of your opinion, any of your thoughts and feelings about Merino in that first half and leading into the second?
Well, I think I said last podcast that or one or two podcasts ago, that he's in that development phase, like Havertz was in that development phase, because he hasn't played for the first 2 and a bit months of a season because of that shoulder injury he got like on the first day of training. So he's still in that developing, getting minutes on the field with the first team, coming off, not having to just come off the bench and integrating himself and learning how to play with the squad. And no, I don't think anyone's calling him out like how we were calling Havertz out last year in the first 3 or 4 months of the season. What I saw from him today was signs of development and integration with his colleagues. He seems to be working well with Calafiori on that left side. He's not going to replace Dec in the starting lineup, let's be clear. But tonight he showed that he can step in and provide a stable alternative, which for me is critical given the number of games that we're going to have and the fact that we're clearly monitoring Dec very carefully in how he's playing because of his, I think he's got, is it still the toe or is it hamstring?
Someone said toe, someone said hamstring. I'm not too sure which one it is.
But so, yeah, I mean, improvement again, definitely. If you look at in transition and the goal, as we said, Dec in those positions, we have a much more confident and assured stance as fans. So he's got to develop, and there's another side to his game that I don't think we've seen, but I see upward trajectory and opportunity with his performance tonight.
I'm still not sure.
Yeah, I'm about to say you're the opposite, aren't you?
Well, not the opposite, but I'm still, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm still unclear about what he offers us. And when you say he's coming up on that left-hand side, he was quite floating today, I feel. He's popping up in lots of different positions, which is maybe the type of role that we kind of needed him to do, particularly since Partey is kind of the sitting, the deep lying kind of midfielder in this setup.
Okay, let me ask you a question. You're saying we don't know what he brings or doesn't, don't know what you're looking for. Does that matter? Because I was thinking,
no, it doesn't.
Very deeply, like there are certain players what you want to see and what you're looking for because they're the star player. But sometimes you have some players that are just do your job, do it well, and go unnoticed.
Yeah, but what is the job? I suppose is the question I'm asking. Like, if I look at, he's not breaking up play. He's not breaking down teams. He's not breaking line passes. He's not being a defensive midfielder, in my opinion. He's not also connecting the attack, in my opinion, or doing it enough. That's what I'm saying. All those kind of things which you kind of imagine, like Declan Rice. He carries the ball well. He breaks up the play well. He breaks down transitions. He can pass the ball. Thomas Partey, he can play those line-breaking passes. He did it very well today. He carried the ball really well today, and we'll talk about him a little bit in a minute.
Yeah.
I just didn't see enough of that from Merino to kind of tell me, that's what he does. If his moment is coming up in the box and scoring random goals, and he keeps doing that, then fair enough. I'll accept that that's the thing that he does. I'm just a bit unclear.
Well, his highlight reel before he joined us did show stuff like that, to be fair. The kind of clutch goals. But the thing for me that I see, you ask that question. What I would say from what I saw tonight is I feel like he plays, I'm going to say the Xhaka role a bit more than Dec does. Like when we lost Xhaka last season, and we had Havertz kind of playing and then sometimes Dec playing. And eventually we moved to Dec because Havertz went up front after 3 or 4 months. But we said that we felt we lost that kind of Zinchenko, Martinelli, Xhaka link up right on that left side of the pitch when Gabby Jesus in the first 3-4 months of his tenure as well was getting involved in all of that. Tonight, what I saw was an amazing link up between Martinelli, Merino and Jesus. And I felt Jesus, I want to just talk briefly about Jesus at some point, because I feel he not only did you have that man of the match performance, but he brought Martinelli back to life. And I feel Merino was in there as well. And Merino was playing what was the Xhaka role, which I don't think anyone's played since Xhaka left. Dex tried, but he's not been successful at it. His qualities lie elsewhere, in my opinion. And I think Merino showed some really good connect play there. And that's what I thought he brought.
Yeah, I mean,
That was what I mean by the
good.
integration point I was trying to make. That's
Yeah,
why
I think that is a good point. And I would say the problem is for me, I suspect, is that he hasn't had a good string of games, and maybe now is the opportunity to. The problem is if Declan Rice is just being nursed back to health, he's coming straight back in, and it's going to be Partey and Rice.
Yeah. Well, the next time you see Merino start will be Man United at home. Brighton away.
It just feels a bit weird, then, isn't it? It's a bit like you can't expect him to kind of get his flow and get integrated and build that relationship on that left-hand side without a good string of games, in my opinion.
I agree, but at the same time, we have to remember that Merino is a squad player to provide the depth in midfield. He's basically the replacement for Elneny. That's what Merino is. Lost Elneny, gained Merino. I think, did Elneny go this year or the year before? I can't remember.
It was in the summer.
Yeah, so that's for me what he is. He is the Elneny replacement. He'll get more game time than Elneny got. He, in theory, should fit within Mikel's style of play better. He's also, he's an experienced professional in his later 20s rather than his earlier 20s. So he's there to do a job, and that job is to step in when Dec needs to be rested or Havertz doesn't play in the left 8 role. That's his job. And that's okay. I think tonight he did that job and he did that fine. I'm not expecting him to start. And I think what we'll see in January, and the reason I say we won't see him till United is because he didn't play Dec tonight, which, as long as he's not injured, I'm assuming means Brighton's probably going to be a harder test. And so we're saving him for Brighton. Dec's also going to play in the midweek in the semi-final against Newcastle, because we'll want to get to the final and we'll put our first team out against Newcastle, because that's going to be a hard game, because Newcastle will want to win a trophy as well. Let's be clear. So the next time I think we'll see Merino will be in the FA Cup against Man United.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually, you've somewhat converted me, Chase. I can see some of it. All right, I'll tell you what. I know that you're going to want to talk about the Starboy Light. So I want to just talk quickly about Martinelli, because we've obviously been quite critical of Martinelli over the last few weeks on the pod. We kind of started to consider drafting up some letters that aren't apology letters. They're burn letters, maybe, that we're sending or not sending. But he had an absolutely unreal finish for that third goal. He was also quite head up for once, which I was quite happy about. We've waxed lyrical on this pod about him being very head down, get to that byline and do all the things that he usually does. And maybe you say that left-hand side connection brought some of the best out in him today. I think he was really, really happy with himself with the goal, because he's certainly, in a sense, that Jesus needed something to bring his confidence back into the game. I feel Martinelli needed something, and it's come at the right time as well, because we are obviously in a position where our front line is somewhat going to be relatively fluid over the next few months because of the removal of Saka. And I just wanted to give him some props here. I think he had a good game. I think he played to his ability and kind of beyond his normal kind of capability that we've seen over the past few weeks. And I'm hoping that allows him to kind of kick on, because we're going to need some more firepower up front. Because I think that if I was to be critical again, seeing where his output is this season, I'd expect it to be higher. And he's now got basically a starting berth lockdown. Really, it really depends. I know we're going to get on to the next player, because maybe that's where his minutes then might get a little limited. Let's see. Do you agree with me on Martinelli? Do you think it was a good performance?
Yeah, I mean, Martinelli had a massively improved performance from what we saw against Ipswich, where I think you and I were both expressed our frustration seeing him on the right. I think what we took from tonight's game was his best position is the left, 100%. And we'll talk about. I want to talk about Nwaneri and why he is a difference maker, or could be the difference maker in the right. But Martinelli, certainly left side starter, happy with that. Is it no surprise or coincidence that Jesus has massively upped his game and Martinelli had a good game? I don't think it's a coincidence. Those two gel. And I don't, when we saw Jesus at his best, we saw Martinelli at his best. You have to go back.
Samba.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go back to before the Qatar World Cup to see those two doing that link up. That first 3 or 4 months of season for the Qatar World Cup, when we had our first season as competing for the league, that was the point when you were talking about Luis Diaz, Martinelli, etc., right? That has been missing, and tonight I saw sparks of it, and I don't think it's a coincidence. Jesus has got his confidence back. He's playing interplay. He's switching across sides of the pitch, and he's bringing Martinelli in the game. They're having that connection, and then Merino, as I said, adding a little bit into it, and Calafiori. Mikel said one thing, which was after the Ipswich game, that Martinelli needs people around him. He needs support, and he's only going to grow when he has those people around him. He didn't get that really on the right side, against Ipswich. I noticed Odegaard wasn't passing to him as much. I think they were still figuring things out. And I think tonight on the left-hand side, he had those people, and you saw some of the best of him, or at least an improvement. So, yeah, and really well taken finish, as you said. Yeah, lovely finish.
Nice. All right. Well, I imagine, Jace, as the clock was counting down last night, you harked back to our previous pod where you said, I want to see Ethan Nwaneri at right wing. I think right wing is going to be his position. You said it on the last pod, and I basically told you to shush, and I don't think that was his right position. And yet there you were at midnight last night praying that 2025 was going to be his year at right wing. And lo and behold, the boy starts at right wing and plays like Saka. There were elements to his game that I think he's obviously will develop at and will get better at, but I do think that he was very Saka-esque in his performance today. Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel a labour of love, Jace, from your predictions coming forth now? What do you think about his performance?
I think tonight we saw, we didn't see, we saw a very good performance from him tonight, a solid performance, which is great because it validates that we can trust in him. But what I think we saw tonight was the start of a long-term Arsenal career and a star player. I'd like to think, I trust and hope that that's the direction it goes in. He has that potential. He just reminds me. The reason I said I wanted him on the right is because he has the attributes. Like Saka, he can cut in on his left foot. He also has an incredible amount of pace. His ability to do a step over and run at the defender, his ability to integrate with Martin Odegaard, he's got that technical feat. We saw that in a few games earlier this season when he came in cameos and it was very direct in replacing Odegaard at the beginning of the season. Coming on as a sub in a few games. We've seen him take a shot like Saka's done before on the outside the box and put it in the back of the net already this season. For me, he's always had the characteristics to not maybe be the starting right winger, but definitely I've seen attributes that make him look very similar to Saka and gave me confidence that we should, at least in absence of Saka and no Sterling, be starting him there. And tonight, I'm just really happy with what I saw. I think he did exactly what I expected him to do. It wasn't the best performance you're ever going to see from a right winger, but starting your first Premier League, I don't know if that's his first start in the Prem. I think it probably is, right?
That's what they said. They did say on commentary.
Yeah. So
I didn't believe it either when they said it. I was like, really?
Yeah. Well, he actually made his first appearance at that ground in the Prem as well at 15. So it's 2 years on and he's starting. So look, I think he's going to be special. Mikel said we've not seen the best of him. I am happy for him to start there against Brighton if we don't sign someone. I think he has to start against Brighton.
This is my worry because
we're not going to sign you on the weekend either. So
we're not. But my worry here was that we've seen this before. I'm trying to go back into my mind palace and think in the recesses of my brain who and what it was. But we had a point where we were going to sign someone. We played another player. It might have been Saka at a position. We were like, oh my God, he's really good there. We don't need someone now. And he might have saved us a load of money. Now, my problem with that is I don't care. He could have scored a hat-trick today, and I still think that we still need a right winger or we still need a striker. I don't think but Mikel might read into that as we've got enough to get us where we need to get without Saka for 2 months.
Yeah, I think so. But the more I think about it, obviously the last podcast we had the discussion of who do we buy in January, and we talked about Matoma, we talked about I can never pronounce the Bournemouth player. Say it for me. Semenyo. We talked about a number of players, Cunha, and all we talked about are right wingers and strikers. But actually, let's analyse who's been the best team in the Premier League for the last 6 years. Man City. Let's analyse what their front attacking threat looks like. De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Foden. Those are 3 of the key fundamentals of their attack. Grealish as well. Now, these players...
Grealish hasn't scored a goal in a calendar year, Jace. Get him out of that conversation.
All right. Well, in his first season, it was all right. My point I'm trying to make is that can you definitively say of all of those attacking midfielders that back up Haaland, can you say that one of them is a dedicated right winger or one of them is a dedicated left winger or one of them is a dedicated attacking midfield? You can't. They all interchange. They have that ability. And we don't have that. We have Martin Odegaard. We have wingers. And then we have Nwaneri, who we think or want to be a step in for Odegaard, but Mikel's not 100% have the confidence to play him there. But he has had the confidence tonight to put him in the Saka role. And what I see as an opportunity is to get a player in the door that can cover all of those positions like what City have. And for me, I was thinking about this a bit more. The answer is Eze. Crystal Palace. Do you not agree?
No, I like Eze, and I think he'd be good. I think, yeah, you're right. He can play left, he can play right. I don't think he'd play as a 9. Maybe I'm not watched Palace.
He can play in the Odegaard position, though.
No, yeah,
the same as Odegaard. But...
I suppose my problem is, and this is where I know we're getting onto a slightly different topic. I look at the 2 best teams from the last 6 years, Liverpool and City, like you mentioned. City having Haaland and Liverpool having Salah is just two players of immense quality. Saka, I don't think is at the level of either of them in terms of his output and his quality. He's world class. I'm not denying that, but I just don't feel. And Eze is not that player. I still feel we need a player of that mold that we pay the money, we go and get them, and they're going to change the same way that Saliba did, the same way that Declan did, the same way whoever this player, Isak, whoever this player I think is.
You've made your mind up. You think it's Isak?
Yeah, I do. I genuinely think he's another Thierry Henry-like player. And I think you should see the goals he scores, the output he has for a Newcastle side that I don't think are very creative. I think he'd be potent in our setup. I think he'd be dangerous in our setup. Anyway, we're getting kind of somewhat off topic a little bit, but I still think I just the reason why we stemmed on this conversation was Nwaneri had a good performance, and I worry that Mikel might look at this as going, well, we don't need someone.
I think we do need someone, and the reason I think we can't take the Nwaneri as the solution is because, one, we've got no one else to come and play on the right wing if he did get an injury, because Saka and Sterling are both out, and Martinelli's not the one.
The fact that you said Sterling, I totally forgot that he even played for us for 10 minutes.
He plays for us for another 5 months until we send him back to Chelsea. Yeah. But Havertz was ill tonight, right? And that's another starting front 3 player that tonight wasn't available, whether it be illness or injury. So, we're kind of getting worried at the moment about Havertz.
It's threadbare, isn't it? It's a bit threadbare.
Yeah, we're worried about just news of one more injury in the front lineup, and it could all go tits up. So, I still think we have to buy.
Well, this is where. So let me go on to the next subject. We can come back to anything if we might have missed it. We want to look ahead because, like I said, we have got Brighton this weekend. Then we've got Newcastle in the cup at home. Then we've got Spurs. Then we've got before Spurs we've got Man United in the cup. Then Spurs. Then Villa at home in the league. Those easy. 5 games are easy. They're not easy games. I know we might look at positions in the tables, but the Spurs game, the Man United game, those 2 games in particular, form and players and all that other stuff goes out the window for those 2 fixtures. They are their own kind of entities within themselves. Brighton away is not an easy game. Villa at home, not an easy game. Newcastle at home in the cup, not an easy game. and we talked about a threadbare squad, and I wanted to add to that Timber got a yellow card today. He won't be able to start as our right back against Brighton, which then leads me to question who we're going to play at right back, because all of our right backs, Tomiyasu, Ben White, who else would play at right back? I think that's it, isn't it? If we got no Timber, no Tomiyasu, and no Ben White, we're going to have to play Partey, I'm guessing.
Oh no, I don't want to see that.
Maybe
again.
Merino will play.
Oh no, I don't want to.
You know
see
what I mean?
that.
So I'm a bit, you know, because like you say, we are an injury potentially away from something bad.
I'd play Scotland's right back.
Kieran Tierney is not playing right back.
Well, he plays right back for Scotland because Robertson plays left back. So that's what I do. Or I'd play Calafiori there and put Marzo Skelly on the left. I don't want to see Partey playing right back. I don't understand that. There's something I'm not.
But I'm just saying precedent will tell us that that's who he's going to start there.
Yeah, which means you've got a Rice, Merino, and Odegaard midfield.
Yep. And I just look at it, you know, we talked about transitions today. Brighton are good on the counter, and I worry a little bit, particularly. I think it would be, who would it be, Minter or Matoma on their left against Partey?
Well, we should just sign Matona and block that. Put a bid in for him so he gets withdrawn from the squad because his head's not in the right place for the game.
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be good. Yeah, you know what? So I'm just looking ahead, and I'm a bit, you know, we are another injury potentially away, and this is a big run of games coming up now. If we can come through this with a good result against Newcastle at home, knocking United out of the cup, and putting, let's say, 7 points on the board from those Premier League games, then I'd be happy. I'd love 9. I think they're all beatable. I think Villa, Spurs, and Brighton are all winnable games for us. I just think we are somewhat threadbare with our squad right now, that it begs me to question, do we have the right players to get the results that we need?
I like the fact that you're optimistic saying 7, because this is the only down you're going to get from me tonight is that I don't think 7's enough. I think with the gap that Liverpool have, we are now in the second half of the year. We've just done our first 19 games. We've got 19 more games to go. We're 9 points in theory behind Liverpool if they win their game in hand. And we've had too many draws in the first half of the season. It's very simple. We now have to win every game. If Liverpool are going to maintain what they're doing, which we have to make the assumption they are, we have to win every game. A draw is not good enough. A draw basically means that we're going for top 4. We're not going for that. Like, literally, I feel unless Liverpool drop points, which yet they're still unfortunately not showing they're going to, I don't think we can drop points either. If they drop points, then fine, but we should be capitalizing on that and getting back in the title race. If we even have one more draw, I think the league title might be done if Liverpool win their game in hand, because it's a bigger gap than we had over City when we dropped the ball.
We have seen Liverpool capitulate in worse situations than this, so I'm still holding out some level of hope that they can't continue this level of form for the second half of the season. But I agree with you. I'm not saying 7 points would be satisfactory to me, Jace. What I'm saying is I think it's probably likely.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a clue, so I'm just going to say 9 points. Go for it.
Anything before we wrap up then that I feel we might have missed?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess plaudits just to Jesus. I think did we talk about Jesus?
I talked a little bit about his goal, yeah, but not
plaudits his overall performance. Just for me, I think he's having a really good impact on the squad, and he's, as I said, even though at Ipswich he didn't score, it was the energy he was bringing tonight. It was the poacher in the box, getting in that header. He got a few shots away, his energy again, his interplay. I'm just really happy to see this Jesus back. And again, he's got a bit of injury-prone history, so fingers crossed he stays fit.
Yeah, we're going to need him, particularly if Havertz's illness is a longer-term illness. You'd expect him to probably make the bench, I would say. Or he might play as the left 8 if we're going to do maybe Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, if Partey is playing right back, perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, you join us in a more happier 3-1 victory over Brentford than it was against Ipswich. We'll be joining you again at the weekend as we are away at the Amex, away at Brighton. So look forward to reviewing that. If you have made it this far, we thank you very, very much and wish you a very happy and prosperous new year. If you don't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do comment down below or ask any questions you might have, and do give this video a like. If you're listening to this rather than watching this, Jace, what do we need those people to be doing?
Yeah, if you're listening, please subscribe on your podcast provider of choice to the RRR Roaring Reds podcast. And doing that will mean that every episode is in your playlist moving forwards. And yeah, if you like what you hear, give us a review, 5 stars, please. If you give 4 or less, Grev just has a cry. So please don't upset Grev.
I do like crying. Good cry is always good. Men cry too, Jace, remember?
Yeah, I know.
Right. Well, we'll see you again on Saturday. Thank you very much for tuning in and have a lovely week.
Cheers, guys.
Come on, you